So, you know those local mysteries, the kind of places um, people tell stories about for generations.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Every region seems to have them.
Well, you actually pointed us towards a really intriguing one near Stopfenreuth in Austria. For years, these crumbling walls, they've just been called the deserted castle.
Right. And everyone had their own idea, didn't they?
Exactly. A medieval knight's stronghold, maybe.
Hmm.
Or something from the Turkish Wars. That was a popular one.
Sure, those are the kinds of histories people often reach for first.
But as we've been digging into the sources you shared, it seems like, well, a much older and honestly, a much more significant story is coming out.
Precisely. There's been recent archaeological work, you see. The Austrian Academy of Sciences, OAW, they've been excavating.
What did they find?
Well, it completely reframes how we look at this site. Turns out it's not medieval, not from the Turkish Wars. It's Roman.
Roman. Wow. Okay. So it sheds light on the Roman Empire's presence there.
Crucial light, yes. On their activities, their strategy, it's quite a find.
Okay. So this deep dive then, sparked by your interest in this deserted castle, is all about unpacking this new evidence. We want to figure out what this place really was.
And what its discovery tells us about, the Roman footprint in that whole area.
Right. Let's maybe start by just painting a picture of this local puzzle, the deserted castle, some weathered walls, right? Along a tributary of the Danube.
That's it, near Stopfenreuth. And for centuries, people have just looked at them and wondered.
You can almost hear the theories bubbling up, passed down through families, tales of knights, maybe sieges.
And that's totally natural, isn't it? When you see ruins, you try to fit them into the history you know.
Especially when it's called the deserted castle. That name itself sort of points you towards the Middle Ages.
It does. It nudges the imagination in that direction, which is, a familiar historical period for most people.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The archaeologists, the OAW folks, they definitively identified it as a Roman bridgehead fort.
A bridgehead fort.
And this is apparently a huge deal. The first one of its kind found on Austrian soil.
That's the headline finding, yes. Absolutely major. It's the first archaeologically confirmed Roman bridgehead fort within Austria's modern borders.
Wow. Okay, so that's a pretty significant piece we were missing about the Romans in Austria.
It really is. It's a game changer for understanding Roman military thinking and infrastructure there. We now have concrete proof of this specific type of military site.
Why is that so important? Did people think they didn't build these sorts of things there?
Well, the models often showed the Roman presence north of the Danube in this area as maybe less intensely fortified, or maybe focused elsewhere. This discovery suggests they were more forward-leaning, more strategically invested right here than maybe we assumed.
Okay, so bridgehead fort. The name sounds strategic, but what does that actually mean? What did these forts do for the Romans, practically speaking?
Think of them as strategic control points. Linchpins, really. They were built to command and secure vital river crossings, or sometimes other key routes.
So guarding a bridge, basically.
Essentially, yes, or the potential crossing point even before a permanent bridge. But they weren't just defensive walls, they were also forward operating bases.
Ah, okay, so launching points too.
Exactly. Launching points for campaigns, for projecting Roman power across the river, especially during periods of expansion. They let the Romans move troops and supplies across barriers like the Danube safely and efficiently.
Gotcha. So not just a simple guard tower. These were proper installations.
Oh, yes. Defensive walls, barracks for soldiers, probably storage areas too.
Hmm.
Everything needed to support operations across the river.
That makes a lot of sense, like a secure base camp right on the edge.
Yeah.
Now, the location, that seems really important too, doesn't it? It's only about 4 kilometers from Carnuntum.
Yes, and that proximity is absolutely key.
Why? What was Carnuntum?
Carnuntum it was huge, a really crucial Roman center. It started as a major legionary fortress.
So a lot of soldiers.
Thousands. And it was the headquarters for the Pannonian fleet, the Roman navy patrolling the Danube.
Wow, okay, so military HQ.
And it grew from there. It became a large, important Roman city. Eventually, it was even the capital of the whole Pannonia Superior province, a massive administrative and military hub.
Right, so having this bridgehead fort just downstream, 4 kilometers away, that would be vital, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. For protecting Carnuntum's flank, for ensuring supply lines across the river were secure, controlling access to this major base. It's all connected strategically.
Okay, Carnuntum is the big command center, and this fort is like its strong arm rushing across the river. Let's talk time. When was this fort actually built and used? What period are we in?
The evidence points very strongly to the period of the Marcomannic Wars.
The Marcomannic Wars. Remind me.
That was roughly AD 166 to 180, a very volatile time along the Danube frontier.
Right. Not peaceful.
Not at all. The Roman Empire was under significant pressure from Germanic tribes north of the river. The Danube was a critical boundary and often a contested one.
And the archaeologists figured this out, the ones from the OAI in Carnuntum Park.
Yes, the teams from the Austrian Archaeological Institute and the Archaeological Park Carnuntum, their meticulous work was crucial in pinning down this time frame.
So a time of tension, conflict, major military activity. Makes sense they'd build forts then. And it wasn't just a one-off build, right? The sources mentioned 2 phases.
That's correct. The archaeology clearly shows 2 main phases of construction.
Why 2? Did they need to rebuild or upgrade it?
It seems so. The first phase, as we said, is around AD 170 to 180. That lines up perfectly with Emperor Marcus Aurelius.
The philosopher emperor.
The very same. He was busy strengthening the Roman limes, that's their whole border defense system along the Danube, precisely because of the Marcomannic Wars.
Okay, so phase 1 is Marcus Aurelius beefing up defenses during the war. What about phase 2?
Phase 2 looks like it was around AD 260. That's during the reign of Emperor Gallienus.
Another period of trouble.
Yes, another period of instability for the empire. It suggests they needed to reinforce the frontier defenses again. So, the fact that they invested in it twice really underscores how strategically important this specific spot remained over quite a long time.
It really paints a picture of the Romans constantly adapting, reinforcing their grip on this frontier. Okay, it makes sense historically, the location fits. But what did they actually find in the ground? What's the hard evidence? It wasn't just a guess, surely.
Oh, not at all. The excavations turned up a lot of material that clearly points to Roman military presence.
Like what? Weapons? Armor?
Some small finds, yes. They found typical Roman-era building materials, which you expect. Lots of pottery, fragments, ceramics, characteristic of the period, and several small bronze artifacts.
Okay, interesting. But is that enough to say military fort?
Well, perhaps the most compelling evidence, the real clincher, came in the form of stamped bricks.
Stamped bricks? How does it tell you anything specific?
Well, Roman legions had this practice. When they made bricks, often for military construction projects, they would stamp them with their legion's insignia, their unit marker.
Like branding.
Exactly like branding. And at this site, near Stopfenreuth, they found bricks stamped with the marks of Legio Fortiers Domina Martia Victrix.
Wow, quite a name.
And Legio Ex Via Apollinaris.
And these legions were known to be
stationed right there at Carnuntum and in the wider province of Pannonia at different times during the Roman period.
So finding those bricks is like finding, I don't know, a dog tag, a direct signature from the specific military units based nearby.
Precisely. It provides a very, very strong link. It connects this specific structure directly to the major Roman military machine operating out of Carnuntum. It's really quite remarkable, tangible proof.
Wow, yeah, you can almost picture the legionaries making those bricks. That really brings it home. Now, the article we looked at, it mentioned an expert, Christian Gugel from the Austrian Archaeological Institute. What was his take on all this?
Yes, Christian Gugel. His point was really about the bigger picture implications. He emphasized that this discovery forces us to sort of reevaluate our entire understanding of the Stopfenreuth region during the Roman era.
How so?
Well, he highlighted that for a long time there was uncertainty about just how much Roman activity, especially permanent fortified activity, there was on the northern bank of the Danube here.
People thought maybe it was less built up than the southern bank where Carnuntum was.
Kind of, but finding this substantial bridgehead fort, and there's growing evidence for other stone forts manned by Roman troops on that north bank too, it fundamentally changes how we see the Roman limes, their frontier system in this whole section.
So it suggests the Romans were much more present.
Yeah.
More dug in on the north bank than we thought.
Exactly. A much more robust and, importantly, a more forward-deployed Roman presence than historians had maybe previously fully recognized.
So this one little ruin, the deserted castle, is actually causing a pretty significant rethink among the experts about the whole Roman strategy along the Danube there.
It really is. It's not just about solving one local mystery anymore. It has much wider implications for how we understand Roman frontier policy.
It's amazing how that can happen. You start with a local legend and end up rewriting a piece of Roman history.
Precisely. And if you think about the bigger picture, it suggests maybe the Romans weren't just sitting passively behind the Danube River barrier here.
They were more proactive.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Establishing these control points, projecting power across the river, maybe engaging more directly with the tribes on the other side, it raises some really interesting questions.
Like what other assumptions we might have about the Roman frontiers that need another look?
Exactly that. What else might new archaeology uncover that could shift our understanding? It's an ongoing process.
It's truly fascinating. Okay, so let's just recap our deep dive today. This place near Stopfenreuth, this so-called deserted castle. It's definitely not medieval, not from the Turkish Wars.
No, it's a significant Roman bridgehead fort. The first one, identified like this in Austria.
And it dates back to that really turbulent time, the Marcomannic Wars, in the 2nd century AD. Built and then reinforced later.
And its real significance, it really reshapes how we understand what the Romans were doing north of the Danube.
Shows they had a more substantial, more strategically forward presence there than maybe we fully appreciated before this.
Absolutely. Underscores the strategic importance of this whole area for the Roman Empire.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other places like this are out there? Seemingly ordinary local mysteries, maybe spots in your own communities or things hinted at in old records you might stumble across.
Could they hold similar big historical secrets?
Yeah, just waiting for someone to dig a little deeper, literally or figuratively. What other deserted castles are out there, and what stories are they hiding about our past?
It's definitely a thought-provoking idea to end on. Makes you look at old ruins a bit differently.
It certainly does. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into a Roman revelation.